Colonel Harrison's voice carried that familiar edge, the kind that had made junior officers sweat and seasoned NCOs rethink their life choices. He tapped the medical form against his desk like a judge's gavel. Vegas putting it mildly, Sergeant. Chronic lower abdominal pain of undetermined origin. Recommendation for temporary modified PT profile. Sounds to me like the doc's trying real hard not to call it what it probably is, you're falling behind, and someone's looking for a soft landing. Maria kept her eyes locked on a point just above his shoulder, the way she'd been taught at Benning all those years ago. Her pulse thudded in her ears, but her voice came out steady. With respect, sir, it's not vague to me. The pain is real. It's been consistent for 8 months. It worsens with high-impact activity, running, ruck marches, anything that involves repeated jarring. The military treatment facility ran every test they have. Ultrasound, CT, blood work, even exploratory laparoscopy. They found stage 4 endometriosis glued to my bladder, bowel, and both ovaries. The surgeon removed what he could, but it grows back fast. Harrison's eyebrows lifted a fraction, the first crack in the stone wall of his expression. Endometriosis, he repeated, as if tasting the word and finding it unfamiliar in his mouth. That's the women's condition, right? Yes, sir. It affects roughly 1 in 10 women, including a lot of us in uniform. Some days I can push through. Some days the pain is debilitating. The profile isn't asking for permanent exemption, just accommodation so I can stay in the fight without tearing myself apart worse. Alternative cardio, bike, rower, swim. Core work modified to avoid positions that aggravate adhesions. I'm still hitting upper body standards and weapons qual. I'm not asking to be carried, sir. I'm asking to keep serving effectively. The colonel leaned forward, elbows on the desk, fingers steepled. The air conditioner hummed in the silence. You know what I see when I look at these numbers, Rodriguez, a soldier who used to smoke the 2 mile in under 14 minutes, now barely breaking 18. I've got lieutenants fresh out of Bolton who can't match your old times. You were one of the best runners in the battalion. Now you're asking me to sign off on a profile that basically says you can't run at all for the foreseeable future. How am I supposed to justify that to the brigade commander when he's breathing down my neck about readiness percentages? Maria allowed herself one slow breath. Sir, you justify it the same way you justify profiles for torn ACLs, stress fractures, or traumatic brain injuries. It's a documented medical condition that impairs function. The difference is this one's invisible and mostly affects women, so it gets questioned more. I'm not injured from a heroic IED blast or a training accident. I'm fighting my own body every day just to stay at work. But I'm still here. Still showing up, still leading my team. I've deployed 3 times with this, twice while it was undiagnosed and I was bleeding through uniforms on patrol. I didn't quit then, and I'm not quitting now. I just need the army to meet me halfway so I can keep doing my job without ending up in surgery again. Harrison studied her for a long moment. Then he glanced down at the form again, flipping to the second page where the gynecologist had written in blunt terms, risk of bowel perforation or infertility if high-impact activity continues without modification. He exhaled through his nose, the sound heavy in the quiet office. You're not the first female soldier to stand in front of me with a profile request, Rodriguez. But you're the first one who's looked me in the eye and laid it out like that. Most just hand me the paper and hope I sign it. He picked up a pen, hesitated, then set it down again. Tell you what. I'm approving this for 90 days. You'll do the alternative PT under the battalion physio's supervision. You keep your weapons qual current, you keep leading your squad, and you check in with me personally every 2 weeks with progress reports. If I see you slacking or if your team's performance slips one hint of it, and we revisit this. Clear? Crystal, sir. And Rodriguez, he added as she started to turn, if the pain gets worse or the docs figure out a better fix, you come straight to me. No waiting until you're doubled over on the grinder. Understood? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. She rendered a sharp salute. He returned it, then nodded toward the door. Dismissed. And stay hydrated out there, it's already 105. Maria executed an about-face and stepped back into the Texas furnace, the heavy door clicking shut behind her. The sweat was already beading again, but for the first time in months, her shoulders felt a fraction lighter. Maria took a deep breath, the kind drilled into her from countless hours on the range and in the field, steady, controlled, even as everything inside her churned. The colonel's words echoed in the small office, heavy with challenge and doubt. She met his gaze directly, no longer averting her eyes to the flag or the wall. Sir, the wounds I'm referring to are from endometriosis, she said, her voice clear and firm, though quieter than before. Stage 4, diagnosed after exploratory surgery last year. It's a chronic condition where tissue similar to the lining of the uterus grows outside it on my ovaries, bladder, bowel, everywhere. It causes severe pelvic pain, adhesions that feel like everything inside is glued together, and inflammation that flares with impact, stress, or even just movement some days. Running, rucking, even standard push-ups in certain positions aggravate it to the point of debilitating cramps and bleeding. I've managed it through 2 deployments by pushing through, but it's gotten worse. The docs removed as much as they could surgically, but it recurs. Hormonal treatments help some, but not enough for full impact PT without risking further damage like adhesions tearing or complications that could lead to more surgeries. Colonel Harrison's stern expression faltered for the first time, his arms uncrossing as he leaned back against the windowsill. The skepticism in his eyes softened into something closer to surprise, then discomfort. He cleared his throat, glancing briefly out at the PT field before turning back to her. Endometriosis, he repeated, the word sounding foreign on his tongue, like a foreign battlefield he'd never deployed to. I've heard the term, but I didn't realize it could hit a soldier this hard. No visible scars, no combat injury on the record. No external ones, sir, Maria replied, allowing a hint of the exhaustion she'd been carrying to show through. But it's real. Affects about 1 in 10 women, including plenty in the army. The medical facility here confirmed it, laparoscopy, imaging, the works. That's why the profile recommendation is for modified PT, low-impact alternatives like swimming, biking, or rowing for cardio, adjusted core and lower body work to avoid aggravating the adhesions. I can still shoot expert, lead my squad, deploy if needed, just not pound the pavement at full speed right now without making it worse long-term. Harrison rubbed the back of his neck, the posture of a man reassessing. He walked back to his desk and picked up the medical form again, this time reading it more carefully, flipping to the attached specialist notes. All right, Rodriguez. I owe you an apology for pushing so hard without the full picture. In my experience, most profile requests I see are for overuse injuries or things we can rehab quick. This is different. Chronic, invisible, and yeah, mostly women. I get why you held back on the details, privacies, you're right. He paused, then nodded decisively. I'm approving the modified profile, effective immediately. 90 days to start, with follow UPS as the doc recommends. You'll do alternative PT events for the ACFT whatever the medical team clears. Keep your team sharp, stay on top of your MOS quals, and report to me monthly on how it's going. If it stabilizes and you can phase back into standard running, great. If not, we'll look at a longer-term accommodation or whatever the regs allow. The Army's got policies for this. We retain good soldiers. You're one of them. Bronze Star doesn't lie. Relief washed over Maria, but she kept it locked down, standing straighter if anything. Thank you, sir. I won't let you or the unit down. Harrison extended his hand across the desk, not a salute, but a firm shake, soldier to soldier. Dismissed, Staff Sergeant. And get with the PT coordinator today. Tell them I said to prioritize your plan. Maria saluted crisply, executed her about-face, and stepped out into the blazing Texas sun. The heat still pressed down, sweat already tracing lines under her uniform, but the weight in her chest had lifted. For the first time in months, the path forward felt like one she could march modified, but still in formation. Colonel Harrison's face drained of color as he stared, his mouth opening and closing once without sound. The smug edge that had sharpened his words moments ago vanished, replaced by raw shock. He stumbled back a half step, bumping against the edge of his desk, his eyes fixed on the intricate web of carbon fiber pylons, titanium joints, myoelectric sensors, and the faded lattice of surgical scars that mapped across Maria's left torso like a battlefield in miniature. Jesus Christ, Rodriguez, he whispered, the aggression gone from his voice, replaced by something hoarse and unsteady. What the hell happened to you? Maria held his gaze, her chin lifted, though her hands trembled faintly as she kept the jacket open just long enough for the truth to sink in. She didn't flinch now. She had carried this alone for too long. IED, sir. Afghanistan, second deployment, 2021. Convoy hit outside K.